Alright, this game is a nice example of the execution of the Halosar trap, which derives from the Black Mortimer gambit. It starts with pawn to d4, black responds with pawn to d5, pawn to e4, black takes, knight to c3, and black responds obviously with knight to f6, and you sacrifice another pawn, sort of. And when black takes, now you have your queen out on f3, leaving this pawn on d4 undefended. And that's what you really want to do, is you want black to bring out its queen so you can start developing with tempo and hopefully implementing the trap. So the next move is bishop to e3, and what you're hoping for is for the queen to come over here to b4, and he actually does that. Now the next move, obviously, if he does that knowing that if you castle, your rook is going to be on d1, and then he can bring his bishop over here and skewer the queen and the rook. That's okay, because you actually do castle here, and when he does bring out his bishop, your next move is knight to b5, and as you can see, the next obvious move is a knight to c7, which is checkmate. The king can't go anywhere because this rook is blocking off this entire row. Can't take this knight because then you would take and check the king. So at this point he'd be losing a queen, and then once he moves, you can then move your queen, and you'd be up in material. So at this point, his options are few and far between. He can move his knight over here to protect this square, square, and there just aren't a lot of things he can open up over here. But what he ends up doing is an interesting move, which is knight to d7. He actually thought about this. In a 5-minute game, he took more than a minute, about a minute or two, just to think about this one move. And the next move for me was critical. For a second, I thought, well, maybe I'll just move the knight over here, and check the king. But that was not going to be a good situation, because with this knight blocking off this row, once I did that, the queen would then move over here to d8, and I wouldn't have a whole lot of options. If I move my queen somewhere, well, then this guy, the king could take my knight, and then it would take away my attacking options. So what I ended up doing was bringing my queen down here to and taking a pawn on b7, thinking that, well, my next move could be a discovered attack, a discovered check. So I would move my knight over here, check the king, and when he moves, I can just take the queen. And he made an interesting move after that. He brought his rook over to b8, but the problem with that move, and I didn't see it at first, it took me a little while to think about it. The problem with that move is that once I take, his only option is to take with this knight, which was defending this row, at which point bishop to c7, knight to c7 is checkmate.